You know, I hope some of you noticed before we even got started, I was trying to flag you. I was trying to say, hey, thanks a lot for being here. Because I do. I genuinely appreciate the fact that you're taking the time to be here. You know, that's part of being motivated to do anything. It is all about, are we appreciating just what's going on around us? Do we actually have people on our side? That's a very fundamental question. Are you motivated? Now, why you're here? What got you to be here? There are 109 of you on this call right now, and the reality is you're here for a variety of different reasons. Different things motivated you to actually show up. It's the PDU. I understand that. That's a fine thing. But that's one reason many people actually show up for these things. They're just here to get the PDU, and that's a motivator. Why? Because it's something you personally need. Now, some of you are here for the information. Bless you for that. I really do appreciate it. I do. And the reason I appreciate it is because, well, that's why I'm here, to share information. It's a matter of everybody has needs. If we are serving the needs of others, we are potentially going to have the opportunity to motivate them. If we're not serving the needs of others, motivating them is going to be, well, kind of a daunting task. It's going to be a difficult hill to climb. But the big question is, are they simply engaged or are they truly committed? This is the classic ham and eggs breakfast. Yeah, engaged, once committed. And it's important to recognize just where we stand in the whole scheme of things. Do we have everything to lose? Frankly, it's going to be a lot easier to motivate those who are truly, genuinely committed than to those who are simply engaged. It's kind of fun. I've been doing WebEx for years, and I always find it entertaining that there's a feature on WebEx that many people are completely unaware of. I have the ability on my side of the screen to see who's engaged and who's not. That's right. It actually tells me whether or not this is your primary screen. Yeah. It doesn't tell me what your other screen is. Don't worry about that. But it is kind of cool that I actually have that ability. I can see people toggle back and forth. So if you go over to check an email, a little exclamation point shows up next to your name saying, hey, by the way, she's not here. And that's okay because people have different reasons and different processing means. All of those things go into our levels of motivation. How motivated are you? Well, part of it depends on, are you committed or are you simply engaged? What's your rationale for being here? That's a big part of the equation. Make sure that we have some understanding, some common understanding as to just why people are committed, how committed they are, and the degrees of commitment. Part here is because of expectancy. There are certain things you expect. Some of you have been in my webinars before. Some of you have actually shown up for these things before, and I appreciate that, by the way. I appreciate the fact you came back, but more importantly, you came back because you expected something. And your degree of expectation actually is hugely tied to just how much effort is coming in on both sides. Expectancy. It is born out of what you believe is going to happen, how you believe it's going to happen. Is it happening the way you anticipated? All of those things play into this. All of those things actually play a critical role in making all of this happen. Somebody raised the question. They said, is there going to be a Q&A at the end? Yes, there is. Just so you know, we're going to get there. And the reason I'm addressing that question now, because that person had expectancy. They were hoping they'd get to actively participate. And indeed, if we don't address expectancy, frankly, we have a real problem on our hands. Now, expectancy. Believing something is going to happen in the future and getting that belief to be held true. Now, you believe because ITMPI actually made sure that this went out to their entire body of folks, well, frankly, it must be some good data. But suppose it had started in a completely different fashion. Suppose we had started this day with, it's 11 o'clock, so we might as well start. We can slog through this together. We'll get there. It's only an hour. That which does not kill me makes me stronger. If we had started that way, many of you you'd have turned out so fast, tuned out, been gone, just like lightning. Why? Because your expectancy would have been destroyed. Now, you'd never see that on a webinar like this, but the reality is, do we see it in the day-to-day of our projects? You bet. People walk the hall. And it's almost like a contest sometimes. I always love that. You'll be walking down the hall and, hey, Bill, how's it going? Oh, boy, it is, it's rough. It's really rough. My life is in the sewer. And then they'll start to tell you all the negatives that are going on in their project. And rather than saying, you know what, my project's going great, we instead turn to them, and it becomes almost a contest. It does. People actually turn the corner and go, you think you're having a tough time. You want to talk about life in the sewer. It's right here. We're destroying expectancy. We really can't afford to do that. One of the things that goes with motivation is people need to believe they are not there alone. They have to believe that other people share their expectancy, and we're going to talk about how to do that in the longer haul. A lot of this, frankly, it's a romance. It really is. To some degree or another, it's a romance. The only challenge virtually, though, is trying to figure out, are they really, really there? Any of you have ever tried doing a long-distance relationship? If you've ever been there, there are moments where, frankly, you're just kind of wondering, wow, are they still there? I used to travel quite a bit in my career, and it was interesting because I've been married to my lovely wife, Nancy, for over 30 years. And in the course of that marriage, what's been interesting, I've spent a lot of time overseas while she's been here in the States. And you start having, not doubts per se, but you just start wondering, are they really committed to all this? Well, similarly, a lot of you are dealing with folks in the States and folks in Chennai or Pune. And as you deal with those people, the question we keep asking is, are they there? Are they still on board? Are they still a party to everything we wanted them to be a party to? And part of that is to make sure that they know that the vows have been taken and the vows are still in force. You have working vows. Any of you who are married, you remember that do you promise to? Yes, I do. And you went through that whole drill. We should be doing something very similar with our fun friends who are on the other end of those conference calls, with our fun friends who are on the other end of the Skype or the WebEx. We should be doing the exact same thing, trying to get the working vows. I promise. And what are they promising to do? Well, on our end, it should be relatively simple. The key promise we have to make, a communications promise. Here's how often we'll talk. Here's the frequency with which that will happen. Here are the modes that we'll be using. And recognize different modes encourage different levels of motivation. Now, I turned on my webcam. I did that for a reason, because it goes to enforcing the vows. Actually are paying a little more attention because I'm a talking head now. Yeah, there's actually a face that goes with all this. Communications happens much, much more effectively when we see a face. Now, for those of you who are trying to build the relationships, which is what's really essential to get motivation from people, for those of you who are trying to build the relationships, if you don't have a regular use or utility that allows you to use a webcam, at the very least,